Cuba and cigar. Very rich, very rich. What driving big fancy car. Very rich, very rich. What make the money from the war. Very rich, very rich. Very rich man want to rule the world with the money. And so them call themselves elite family.
Welcome, everybody, live from Austin, Texas. This is the long-running Jeff Davis Show. We are live here tonight. It is Sunday, 29 July 2007. We've got a lot of things to cover here tonight. And then hopefully when we get done with some of the videos and a discussion about the Rainbow Gathering, and we have some victims of Williamson County, Texas in the studio tonight. So we'll be talking about all that. That hopefully we'll take some of your calls.
We will take your calls.
Yes, we will take your calls. Okay, Deborah Stevens is in the studio. Go ahead,
Yes,
Deborah. Tell us
yes.
about the Rainbow Gathering.
The Rainbow Gathering, yes, I went over some of that last week, and I actually have some of the Rainbow family here tonight that were incarcerated and apparently tortured at the hands of the U.S. Forestry Service, this National Incident Management Team, which has been funded and invoked under the Patriot Act and Homeland Security. It's been declared a national emergency, the Rainbow Gathering, and I'm going to go over a letter from an attorney where he is describing how their rights were stripped to jury trial, and they're not able to have access to their lawyers and things like this. And then these members of the family are going to tell their story of how their experience at the hands of the feds, the police state, and then they're also going to tell their experience in Wilco. They were also victims of Wilco. So
Williamson County.
Williamson County, yes.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a
Should
great
be,
interview. Yeah.
Yeah, what a surprise. Terry, what do you got? Got a minute. Quick monologue.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that hippies in the forest are a threat to national security, and I'm just flabbergasted. It's like you always wonder, can they do anything to make themselves look even more stupid? And they sure enough, they come up with things like the hippies in the forest are a threat, and they must be incarcerated. Okay, well, anyway, the basic theme that I'm promoting is about. Boy, I'm just blown away by that whole thing. Okay, so
Who we are.
who are we really? Who are you? And really, and that's the basic theme. And along those lines, there's a bunch of stuff about different forms of consciousness. And some of it's artificial, and some of it's, well, we'll just get into that. And I just can't get over it. A bunch of hippies in the woods are being busted as a national threat. It's like, this is what you pay taxes for?
Apparently, it looks like they're using it for practice.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. For massive roundups.
For massive roundups
Yeah.
at a later date.
Just practicing on the hippies.
Practicing
Right.
on the hippies because they think that they're not going to be able to do anything about it, but they're wrong. They don't know who they're dealing with.
And we've shown that something, that detention facility or whatever that is up there
That's
at,
right, in Indiana. Yes.
where thousands and thousands of people could be held there.
Hundreds of thousands, it looks like.
Yeah.
And that's not the only one. There's actually about 800 of
Concentration camps in America.
those. Looks like the number, the estimate is that there's about 800 of those in the United States right now.
I'm wondering.
Unoccupied.
I'm wondering if the rest of the world has already figured out the United States is sliding into being a third world nation, except we here in the United States don't know it. But the rest of the world is maybe aware of it. I mean, every time I hear this stuff about the way they're acting, it's like...
It's pretty strong. Okay, folks, so with that, let's go to the videos. Then Deborah's going to introduce our two guests coming up here. Abused in Williamson County and at the Rainbow Gathering in Arkansas.
Yes.
Other than that, folks have access to the internet. You can Google Jeff Davis Show. When the link comes up, click it on. You can watch 2 years. There's a banner there that says click here to watch the past shows. You can watch 2 full years of archive shows in their entirety over the internet. And we've also got 8 YouTube videos that you can watch. So with that, let's go to the video, and we'll be back with our guest. That's just the fact behind that. As far as the debt, of course you got the Federal Reserve. That's the heart of the problem. And then they try to manipulate us into things like bonds, selling bonds and all of this type of thing for the children and all of this. And keep in mind, folks, that debt equals slavery. And that's a key when you understand this, that our masters over us now, ruling over this nation, use debt and financing as the main mechanism, part of the economic system that they use. Taxes is, as you see up there on the screen, is a form of slavery, form of economic enslavement. Income tax was instituted with the 16th Amendment in 1914, and since that time of course they promised to soak the rich at the time, and they've ended up the deal was that they fed us was that they would only tax us 2%. We're now up to, depending upon what tax bracket you're in, up to 15 to 29%. We also have sales taxes, and we have one of the most enslaving taxes, I believe, the property tax, which basically means you don't own what you live on. Even though you say you own it, it's an illusion of ownership. So they've instituted economic means of controlling us and tracing us, or tracking our transactions. Now, one of the big strategies that I see that they employed on the American people was back in 1935 with the creation of the Raw Deal. I mean the New Deal with President Roosevelt. Roosevelt was just another one of their minions. And one way to control a good part of the population is to make people dependent. And the slave masters at that time knew that this would be a vital mechanism, and they sold it to us as good. But so they created all different types of social and welfare programs to make people dependent, retirement programs to make people dependent upon in their retirement, different types of licensings and permits, and you got to get the government, you got to ask the government to do this and do that. They'll make you dependent upon them. It's also created a dependent voting bloc in this country, and which means that there's a good number of people that are on these programs now that are not going to bite the hand that feeds them, so they're going to continue to vote for more of these big expansion of programs. One of the main mechanisms, of course, is they create fear. We're going to be getting into this a little bit later. And they also control a huge bit of the corporate elite through corporate welfare and through, of course, the economic side of it of buying up stocks and bonds, and then through the manipulation of Wall Street have been able to buy up a good portion of the large corporation base. So you got economics involved, and you've got dependency involved. And these are two mechanisms that the enemy of America, the people who control this country now, are employing. They've also they've been very sneaky in using Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto to employ different types of systems of permits and whatnot. They've got the state control
of industries through taxation and huge regulatory agencies, OSHA and the EPA and these kinds of things. They've got their central bank. They've created public education over the last 50 years. And as David Rockefeller once stated, the public education was helpless people yielding themselves to our molding hands. Excuse me. So they got the public education thing going, and there's Mr. Rockefeller there. We've got the income tax, as we've noted, property tax.
Out from the grave. Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave?
Now you have your own story to share. Folks, I need to mention, it's obvious that Mr. Smith here doesn't want to reveal his identity. Because of, I guess, fear of reprisal from this county, right?
Right.
Okay. But he does have quite an interesting story to tell us, so why don't you go on here, Mr. Smith, if you will. Tell us about your incident with Williamson County, Texas.
Well, I've always heard about Williamson County, and I thought people might be exaggerating, but until it hit me head on, and I had a situation where I was just leaving from my ex-wife's house, visiting my children, and I stopped at a stop sign, and I noticed there's an officer about 2 blocks down the street. Now, where I was at, he couldn't see where I stopped at, and when I went ahead and turned, he rode right by me and then turned around and stopped me. And I asked him why he stopped me when I made a complete stop at the stop sign. And he said, well, I'm not going to give you a ticket, but I just want to take your driver's license. And he tried to say I didn't make a stop, but when I told him I saw you and you couldn't see where I was at because you was too far down the street, he just said, well, I'm not going to give you a ticket, but we're just going to take your driver's license. And they checked it, and then they said my license was suspended. And I was right around the corner from my ex-wife's house, and I had a cell phone, and I told him, well, he told me that he had to handcuff me, and they had to take me down. They called another police officer there. They cuffed me like a criminal. They, got 2 or 3 police officers there. They handcuffed me in front of everybody. They just made the situation look way worse than what it was, and it was just a bunch of stuff that was really unnecessary. I had my work clothes on. I had a lot of equipment in the car, and I had a rental car. And I asked him, I said, well, this is a rental car. Can I call my ex-wife? She's just right around the corner. I just left the house. It's right around the corner. You can see the house from here. And he's like, no, we got to impound your car. And so they went ahead and impounded the car, and then when they took me down, they kept me down there, Jeff, I stayed there about 2 days. They held the equipment that was in the car. They tried to say it was stolen. The rental car place, we got a hold of the rental car place. They tried to get the car that they would not let them get the car because they said it was holding it because they thought the equipment might have been stolen.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. It's almost humorous, but it's a sickening humor.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I know I got this mask on, but it's because I don't trust the legal system. When I had to go back to court, me and a friend of mine, I'm a black man, and officer rode right by, turned around, just like last time, stopped us both this time, and we was on our way to the court this time. And I had him drive because they said my license was suspended. But anyway, they stopped us, and the guy got out of his vehicle. We asked him what he wanted. He had nothing to say. He said, well, the tire like it's kind of low on the vehicle.
What he said, the reason to stop was tires was low.
That's what he said.
Well, so I want to just clarify for people that made it. So one day you were driving up in Round Rock, right? You had a rental car. You had some equipment, some television equipment in the car with you. You were pulled over, stopped?
Yeah, I was pulled over, stopped.
Okay, and there was a problem with your driver's license. Now, explain why your driver's license was suspended.
Well, I had switched insurance companies, and I had to keep the SI-22 for like 6 months to a year, and I thought I didn't need it anymore. So when I switched insurance companies, my old insurance company got dropped, and according to the SI-22, you're supposed to inform whenever you switch, just inform them, so they, reinstate so they keep it with your license for a year. So I didn't think I needed it anymore. And when I got the new insurance, I didn't get the SI-22, so my insurance got suspended. Now, all I had to do was just show the license plate that I had insurance and my license was reinstated. It was 1-day process. As soon as I showed proof that I have insurance, my license reinstated the same day. I had to pay $50, I think.
Okay. Now, because of that, when I guess they keyed in your license plate, so because of that, then they impounded the car.
Yes.
Basically declared that the equipment, the television equipment you had in your car, had been stolen.
Right.
Well, you went to jail for what, 2 days?
2 days. It was on Friday. I didn't get out till sometime Saturday. Friday morning, I got out Saturday night, Saturday evening, and couldn't get the car out until Monday. So we had to pay for the rental car for the weekend at Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and couldn't get out Monday. And, it was just costly for me all the way around. I had to pay a $200 fine to the court system. And after all that, the man tried to give me a year worth of probation.
I'm sorry. Excuse me, I'm not laughing. It's just ridiculous. Okay, so what did you say when they said they wanted to give you a year's probation?
Well, he said that
What did you say?
I asked him. I said, a year worth of probation for what? And he said, because your license was suspended and we stopped you. And this is usually like one of the things they do for everybody. And I was like, well, I know what my situation is. All I got to do is just go down to the driver's license place and show my insurance, and my license is going to be reinstated. And then I asked him about the probation. I said, what do you probation like what? And he said, well, you have to come in each month, check in. You got to pay $115 a month for a year.
$115 a month to be on probation?
$115 a month.
Yeah.
And come in and check with somebody.
Yeah. This is Williamson County, all this is going on. Huh? So what's your general perception of this place?
I think they're out to get money. And from most people that I've heard that's been in there, when I was in there, similar cases. I had one guy told me that he called the police out there, and they ended up taking him to jail. He called the police. His girlfriend was having a dispute. He said, look, you're going to do the right thing. He'll call the police, get his stuff out of the house, and leave. Well, when the police got there, they took him to jail. And took his girlfriend to jail. And then he turned the kids over to the state. I was talking to the officer, and he was taking me down to Williamson County, and he told me, he said, he knows that there's crooked lawyers, he knows that there's crooked officers, and he knows the judges are crooked. He said he's seen a case where the lawyer that person was in jail paid and actually went up to the DA and said, what do you want to do? He said he's seen it with his own eyes, and he was a sheriff. He also told me that they teach the sheriffs down there to know what you want to do to the person before you stop them. Yeah. So when you stop them, you know you want to take that person in jail, whether you have a valid reason or not. And I was like, wow, that doesn't make sense. But he said that's what they teach the officers down there.
You're guilty before proven innocent.
Right.
They've already got their minds predetermined what they're going to try to pin on you, and that's it. Yeah, that's a common theme amongst all these testimonials. So you think it's out of control then?
Yeah, it's way out of control. It's way out of control. Yeah. And what's the sad thing about it is they're full of people's lives and people's homes and careers, and it's like they don't care. As long as you got money, you can pay your way out of it. If you don't, well, you're going to pay by sitting in there for time. And it's a pretty sad situation.
Thank you very much, my friend.
All right, man.
God bless you.
Get some pictures.
more video to go.
Leave us alone! We don't be good! Into your home! Go away! Leave us alone! We don't be good!
Welcome back to the Jeff Davis Show. My name is Hassan. Working out more with Jeff Davis and Deborah Stevens in a little bit. First, I want to go ahead and plug a segment I've got coming up next week. Deborah hosts a radio show called The Rule of Law, and her co-host is a man named Randy Kelton. And Randy is a guy who got fed up with the government doing whatever they wanted, not playing by the rules, not following the laws. And he figured out the only way to make them actually play by the rules is to file criminal complaints against them. And so that's what he did last Monday. He went down to the courthouse and filed criminal complaints against a lot of your public officials. And I went down there with him to document it on my video camera. And what I got was some pretty good stuff. I got on tape your public officials telling Randy that he does not have a right to challenge them. And I also got some police intimidation on video, so it should be pretty cool.
Next week.
Next week, so tune in.
Okay.
Hi. Hi, I'm Deborah Stevens, and I have some very special guests here, members of the Rainbow family, my brothers. This is Music, and this is Each Day. And Music was the gentleman in the video that you saw at the beginning, okay, running down, playing drums in front of the feds. As you can see, none of us are afraid of them. And it was an incredible moment when I saw him do this, and so I'm really glad to get to meet him and have him on the show. And Music was also incarcerated by the feds a few days later. And I would like you to please tell us about this, what happened to you in this situation. And then TJ's also going to tell us what he witnessed.
Well,
So go ahead.
This was at the Rainbow Gathering.
was at the Rainbow in
a couple of weeks
Arkansas.
ago in Arkansas. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, basically, I came walking down to the same site shown in the video, and the same female officer that lost her temper, that had the pepper spray weapon, grabbed me from under my jawline and around my waist, and basically threw me directly in the car without reason or.
And this was a few days later?
Yeah, it was 2 days after that point.
2 days after that?
Yeah, and I was taken to their command post that they had sitting outside the forest where we were gathered, and they sat me out in the rain for a while, and they questioned me, asked me where I was from, and told me a bunch of things that were going to happen to me, and basically tried to intimidate me. And I just held on to my right to remain silent and refused to speak. I was then taken to jail about 50 miles away in a town called Jasper, and put in a room by myself. The air was turned up full blast, and I was soaking wet. Basically, they sprayed me with water and put me in a colder room, and then I was released the next day with no charges.
Did they tell you why they were doing this to you? Did they tell you why they were arresting you?
No, I never got that part, those details.
You never found out anything? They just grabbed you and did this to you, and you didn't find out why? Did they give you any paperwork at all?
No, none whatsoever.
Did you see a judge or a magistrate?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
They just basically kidnapped you.
Caught and released. And then I was released into a small town. I tried to hitchhike my way back and was stopped by the police and told hitchhiking was illegal, so I asked another officer for a ride, and he told me to hitchhike. So it was just never-ending circle.
Did they take your ID? Did they get your real name and stuff? Or
Yeah, I gave them my name, and they actually withheld my personal belongings for about an hour and refused to give them back my stuff when I was released, and I had to go back to their jailhouse and demand kind of thoroughly to get my belongings back.
now, this jailhouse that they brought you to, was this local, municipal, or county? Or do you know if it was federal?
I have no idea, but I
it was
do know.
in Jasper.
And everyone in there, minus one person, was from the Rainbow family and from the gathering.
How many people were in there?
At the time I was there, 11 people were there. Two others came in and were instantly released in the same way I was.
Do you know if anyone, did you talk to anyone in there and find out if they saw a judge or a magistrate at all? Or
Oh yeah,
had any charges?
the kids in there were going to see judges.
They were, but you didn't.
No, I didn't see a judge.
Okay. And then they just let you go?
Without
did-
shoes or a shirt or anything.
They're just practicing.
Yeah.
Be glad it wasn't target practice.
And this is like a peace event, right?
And they did hold a taser in my face for a good 20 minutes while they were asking me to speak when I wanted to remain silent. When I had my hands behind my back and I was cuffed, officer bent me over in front of him, and it was a little different than the normal search procedure as far as the way he handled it. It was more like harassment, like a sexual harassment. And another officer commented when I cracked my neck that I was getting aggressive, and they needed to use more direct force. So that's when the taser was put in my face as a means of control to keep me.
This is at a peace gathering.
Did they taser you in the face?
No, they
Oh,
did
he
not
just
taser.
stuck it in your face. And were all of these, do you know, these were federal agents, right?
Quite sure.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So there were no other local, like police or sheriffs or state. This was all federal.
No, one
But
that
you
I saw.
don't. But you don't know if the incarceration facility that they brought you to, if that was federal or anything like that.
I think it was a county jail that had been around since the early 1900s.
Okay.
There was a Freon leak in that jail upstairs where they housed us, and it was not in good shape at all. The windows were easily openable.
There was a Freon leak inside.
Yeah, the AC unit was leaking out a visible gas that was causing people to feel ill. And I basically slept the entire time I was in there. From the time I got upstairs, I passed out and woke up the next day to them telling me their exact words were, "We're kicking you out of jail." And I asked for paperwork or anything to know if I need to come back or if I have charges, and they said, "You can leave or stay. It's up to you." And I left without my belongings and came back to get them, and they said they didn't have them. And then ultimately they gave me my stuff in 3 separate loads. They gave me little piece by piece back.
So basically, they just kidnapped you at gunpoint, threw you in this makeshift prison that had a toxic leak, and then no charges, no judge, no magistrate, no anything, and then they just kicked you out the
They
next
expected me
day.
to walk 50 miles back to where I had been barefoot in a small town with a lot of racial problems.
Incredible. Did you get any other stories of any other of the other people in there, how they were treated?
Well, most of the charges were pretty exaggerated for the sentencing, is basically to what the crimes were, and a lot of people didn't know their charges and were released without.
Was everyone sprayed down with water and thrown in this place?
No, definitely not. That
Okay.
was a special treatment
That was a special treatment for you.
because
Why did you merit this special treatment?
Well, I refused to speak because they finally told me they gave me an incomplete reading of my Miranda rights, which was that I had the right to remain silent, and I said, okay, I'll take that right, and I didn't speak, and that irritated them, I guess, to the point where they were pretty upset when I wouldn't speak inside the jail, so they put me in that room and gave me a minute to think about it.
Did they didn't offer you any phone calls or anything
No,
like
definitely
this?
not.
He wasn't officially arrested.
Yeah, you were never officially arrested.
Just basically kidnapped.
Aggravated kidnapping, absolutely.
And the whole, like, they told me to watch my head after they had already slammed my head into the vehicle of the car. They put me in one vehicle by force by picking me up off the ground and throw me into it, only to take me out of it and put me in another one. And one of the cops who searched me told me if he gets any diseases or starts itching or anything like that, he's going to take it out on me in a more harsh, more harsh tone.
Now, where they apprehended you, or where they kidnapped you, actually, was this in the river?
He said,
Was at that
if my
area?
abuse of you
Okay.
results in me getting sick, I'm going to come after you.
Well, he asked me if I had staph or if I had any diseases like AIDS or anything like that he could catch, and I said no. And he said, if I catch anything, he's going to retaliate against me. He had gloves on. He took the gloves off after searching me and washed his hands immediately. Basically, it was just a really condescending nature of the way they basically treated me like an animal, like I was some diseased animal.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. And I did want to also comment on this video that music was in. I witnessed this whole episode, and the day that this happened, they came down there. There was like 6 vehicles, and they came down there with the express intent purpose of just grabbing people. They got out of the cars. They had rubber gloves on already and cuffs in their hands, and they just started grabbing people, whoever was the nearest to them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they were on a kidnap binge, apparently, Fishing trip, yes. And I found out that they had a mobile magistrate's court set up, federal court, and I know that on one day they had 600 trials in one day, okay? And that was just one day. All right, so we're gonna file Freedom of Information Act requests. We're gonna get the court documents of all of those people, and I'm going to contact all of those people because we need to get everybody to file criminal complaints against these people for aggravated kidnapping, for official oppression. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we can do about this. We're gonna find the flight plans of all the chopper buzzes that they did, what their budget is, all the names of these people. So we have full intent on doing something about it. Each day, would you please tell us what you witnessed there?
I witnessed him getting arrested. And basically, he was just walking up and asking them why they were giving the person a ticket. And the moment he opened his mouth, they just grabbed him.
So the feds were giving someone else a ticket.
Yes.
And he went up and asked him why, and then they grabbed him.
Yeah. And then as they were grabbing him, another person dropped something, and he went to go pick it up, and they grabbed him, put him on the ground, but he rolled away and ran off. And they were also pulling people over as they were entering the gathering, like many people. I know actually a person that has a case up there. He got illegally searched and went to jail. So.
Yeah, I witnessed a lot of illegal searches on the highway, okay, because, see, there's a state highway, and then there was, could you tell them to maybe turn the monitor down, because the mics are feeding back.
A little bit of feedback.
Yeah, just a little bit of feedback.
Just turn the mics down, the monitor down, that is. There was a state highway, and then there was the dirt road or actually it was official forestry road. That's why all of this madness happened to begin with, because every year that I've gone to the Rainbow, there was never a forestry road that went all the way down into the middle of the site in the main circle in the gathering. That has never happened, okay? It's always been like a little road, and then everybody parks in this big meadow, and then you hike like 5 miles plus, and so the feds can't touch us. So something went wrong this year with the people who started this of choosing the site, and apparently they were intimidated into allowing this Forestry Service to bulldoze this road. But at any rate, I witnessed them. The Forestry Service, these are federal agents now, and U.S. Marshals pulling people over on the state highway, okay, and just yanking them out of the cars and searching everything. And see, now this is actually where we can really nail them, because once they do this on the state highway, now we can nail them in state criminal court. So now we can get them at the state level and the federal level, okay, and the county level. And I just wanted to read quickly before we go into the will code, just take a second. This is from last year. This is an open letter from an attorney who who was helping some of the Rainbow family last year, attorney Don E. Wertschoffer. This is in Ohio, and this is a documentation of some of his clients, what they've said. repressive federal policies. The Bush administration has spent millions of dollars trying to stop the rainbow gatherings. They are enforcing a non-commercial group use permit regulation that is impossible for unaffiliated individuals to comply with. They require that someone sign as an agent for a fictional group entity named as a permit holder, which then must assume full liability from the government and bind participants vicariously to terms. Okay, and it goes on. Such an ad hoc gathering has no legal capacity to designate agents or acts of the group. Okay, so this is a clear violation of the First Amendment. All right, the Forestry Service requires a permit be applied in advance for gathering. They cannot do this. We have freedom of assembly on public lands. They use any excuse possible to deny permit application. This year their denial was based on the fact that some logging company had a permit nearby, but it was very far away, had nothing to do with it at all. Millions of taxpayer dollars are being spent to block this harmless gathering from taking place. The scariest aspect of all this is how the Homeland Security is using these gatherings to perfect techniques of martial law. Okay, regulations written for FEMA to deal with natural disasters are being used to crush dissent in this country. Each year the Rainbow Gathering is declared a national incident and federal military law ensues. Martial law. Special agents are appointed incident commanders, delegations of authority, law enforcement teams, huge budgets. Okay, qualified Forest Service administrators cannot get involved. The county sheriff and other officials are brought in under their jurisdiction, okay, and the feds can basically control the whole thing. This is what has happened. This was in Colorado last year. All right, in Colorado, they blocked the road, prevented food and water from reaching those to get into the gathering. They set up a roadblock. Okay, 500 people with tickets were herded into trials like none anyone has ever seen. These pseudo-trials are prototypes for what Homeland Security will use in cases of insurrection or plague. Here's the clincher. Defendants lose their right to public hearing. Okay, you didn't even have a hearing. This year, hearings are being held behind closed doors in a firehouse garage near the site. Attorneys and legal observers have been denied the right to even view these trials. Defendants are not explained their rights or afforded right to attorney, the right to summon witnesses, and they have no jury trial. Okay, they appear at 9 a.m. each day and sit in the hot sun without water or sanitary facilities until their trials. Some have been waiting there for several days without food or water. Okay, what is the deal here? This is what happened last year. Okay, this has been going on for years. We have to stop this. All right, we have to stop this. See, they think that they can just do this because they think these are just a bunch of hippies homeless in the woods. They don't know who they're messing with, okay? There are lawyers that go there, doctors that go there. I have a master's degree, okay? I'm a physical therapist. I'm not putting up with this crap. Yeah. And now, I'm sorry, I'm very emotional about this.
I understand.
Okay, this is outrageous. This is what they want to do to all of us, and we have to stop it. This is America here. What is the deal? And these are the feds, all right? This isn't local police. This isn't county. I saw one sheriff there the whole time, and it was because someone called them. There was an incident at a camp, the alcohol camp. See, this is a peaceful gathering. There's no alcohol there. There is one camp that has alcohol, and all the alcohol has to stay there. All right, there's hardly ever any problems there at all. All right, this is the feds. The feds are after us because we're peaceful. We're against the war. All right, and they are trying to destroy our right of freedom of assembly on public property and freedom of speech and freedom of religion, and I'm not putting up with it.
Yeah, now, folks, I just want to mention we will be taking some calls here. I want to get into, you two both have had issues with Williamson County, Texas. Go ahead, music, and tell us a little bit about that. What's that all about?
Williamson County is even more ridiculous. I got arrested there for a charge. They charged me with driving without a license. I was arrested inside a pawn shop by a plainclothes officer who didn't let me know he was going to arrest me, but basically just came up, accosted me, and put me directly into a car. Took me to jail for me to be released the next day on a PR bond to appear in court. When I go to appear in court, there's no judges there. There's my name's not in the system. They say it's dismissed. And then I was later arrested, about several months later, arrested for a warrant on that charge for a failure to appear and sent to serve 2 weeks in Williamson County. So I was in jail twice for one offense. The offense before that, I was arrested for having a sword, and then the charge was dismissed. Basically, it was called an unclassified or unlicensed, unlawful carrying a weapon. It was changed around. It was many different charges.
So how much? So basically, you didn't hurt anybody. There was nothing like that.
No, I didn't touch anyone.
So how much actual time did you spend in the Williamson County?
33 days. I was defending myself. There's 2 guys armed with baseball bats who wanted to attack me right after they had just attempted to rape 2 young girls. I was going to investigate that and see what happened, what actually happened. And these guys were waiting for me with baseball bats, not to mention the house full of people. They called the police on me, and then I was found to have a sword. And, well, that sword was given back to me, and those charges were dropped, but I still did 33 days in jail.
And that was just the first time? Or
That was my
both?
first offense. I lost my license, which then led to the second charge of driving while license invalid. Was that charge, and that was just, I got a ticket for it and then was arrested for it, and then I was let out of jail to be rearrested for it.
No, wait a minute. They dropped the charges, but they still took your license?
Oh, yes.
So it's just once they get you in the system, they want to get you in, keep you in there, right? Because it's money for them. You know, they get paid by the feds to have people sitting in their prisons.
Well, all the
it's so much money per day.
They told me every 12 hours is $200 they get or something like that.
Yeah, right. So it's a money incentive to keep those jails full and hopping.
We're like cattle.
Yeah,
and
basically.
The 33 days I did were counted as 3 for 1, so I actually had 99 days served. So when the second charge rolled around for me to do 2 weeks on a warrant to pay the costs or whatever of the driving while license invalid ticket, that back time never got used or whatever it is, however that works. The extra days I had, my sentence was for 30 days for that weapons charge, and then the charges were dropped on it. So the back time never went into effect either, and I still had to serve out those 14 days.
And this is just a bunch of crap, really. Williamson County, you're sitting, and you said you've had problems with Williamson County.
Yes, I have. I was just passing through hitchhiking, and I was flying a sign and need to get back to Austin home, and pulled over, and they're hitchhiking's legal, son. Don't you know that? I'm like, yeah, I didn't know that. I'll just walk to on the other side instead of the main road. And they're like, well, you need a ride? So I think for a minute, well, that'll get me to Austin quicker. You know, a police officer. I don't know. I wasn't thinking at the time. And so the moment I agreed with the officer, he put my hands behind my back and cuffed me, and he arrested me for hitchhiking. Come to find out later that hitchhiking isn't illegal in Texas, and also I had a little bit of herb, but like just a flake, and I went to jail for 30 days on top of a few more days plus the hitchhiking. Like
both of these are Williamson County jails.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you say?
You said you've seen beatings, people getting beat up.
One night when I was downstairs in the intake in the detox room, they put everyone in a small room, about 10 to 12 people, and you sleep on the concrete. Well, a guy came in who I guess wasn't cooperating, so they got a video camera out and to film it, and they got basically what looks like cattle prods, and they just prepared to proceed to beat this guy down and tase him repeatedly to put him in a cell by himself, and he really wasn't resisting. And then what they did was they put him on some medication that had him so loopy he was just wandering around and he couldn't function. Like, he was just wandering around the lobby, and every time they tried to tell him to do something, he couldn't coherently respond or cooperate, so they would beat him again.
So what's your guys' general perception of Williamson County?
I think that they're criminals and
they need to be shut down.
Basically, they're making up their own laws and changing them as
they need to restart their whole organization. All sheriffs should be fired and be punished for anything that they have done.
I personally witnessed.
Plus, start all over with new police officers, new sheriffs, new and new
DAs,
new
court judges.
Everyone
it's basically open and shut in their court system. You go in, they speak real fast.
They own their own town, you know.
They say, when I went to court last time in Williamson County, they said, hey, this is what we can do. We can let you out today. Does that work for you? And then in order to get out of jail, I had to agree to never open the case, never go back and re-examine it, to never speak about it, basically. I witnessed a guy die in there that time from a staph infection that went untreated, even though
in the Williamson County Jail.
Yeah, my job to get my sentence reduced was to watch
County.
him every day because he was on suicide watch. But the real story is that he had a staph infection and it was real bad. They didn't want it to spread, so they put him on suicide watch so that way they have the right to isolate him, keep him in the infirmary, and I watched him die over about a 2-week period. I'd telling the guards every day, this guy's dying, and then they finally let him go home.
I've gotten all kinds of reports about people being beaten in the jail, beaten to death, so it just goes on and on.
And I want to say that document you signed is completely invalid and illegal, and everything that they did to you guys, okay, we can file criminal charges against them. And what you're saying, you need to start all over, you need to fire. Not only do they need to be fired, these people need to be put in jail.
I agree with
Okay,
that.
and that's what Randy and I are all about. Okay, and so we like to have you on our radio show too and discuss how we're going to go after these people, not civilly. Okay, see, one of the biggest mistakes that people make is suing. Okay, you have to go after their wallet after the fact. All right, you have to get the criminal charges against them first and get indictments and convictions, and then you go after their wallet. What I say is you boot them into jail and you grab their wallet as you're kicking them in. Okay, you can't just go after their wallet. So we're doing something about this.
Okay, we're ready for some. Yeah, we're ready for some. Okay, folks, we got about 11 more minutes worth of calls. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. All you guys,
Thank you so
Deborah,
much.
Thanks for having us.
Sasan, Jeff Jr. Once again, Google Jeff Davis Show for folks on the internet. You can watch archive playbacks of the show in their entirety. There's a banner there that says click here to watch the past shows. Click that on and you can watch 2 years worth of archive playbacks. Okay, welcome. You're on Worldwide.
Jeff, it's Chris Baker. How are you guys doing?
Great, sir.
Hey, one thing I got to ask, Deborah, has there been any similar harassment at Burning Man?
I do not know. I haven't attended Burning Man, but I do know people that have gone, so I will definitely be looking into that. But I don't think so, and if it is, it would be different because Burning Man is on private property. Now, probably, I know what they do at events like Burning Man is that they use the RAVE Act. Okay, to go in and basically just seize everybody and search everybody. They use the RAVE Act to go after the property owners and after the people that attend these events on private property. Okay, so basically they just do the same thing. So sometimes I don't know if it's happened at Burning Man, but that's the big difference with Burning Man is it's always in the same place and it's on private property. This is on public property. This is national forest. This is our land. So this is a big deal. It's a big deal if they do it on private property too, but I will look into that.
Anything else, sir?
Well, I didn't see any of you guys in San Antonio yesterday at the fundraiser for Ron Paul.
I was there. I was there all day.
She was playing music, weren't you?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
band was
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah.
Our band was in the afternoon, and I was there that night too.
Well, yeah, it was really nice to see that. I was quite pleased with it, so.
Thank you.
Don't think I have anything else to say.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Google Jeff Davis Show, sir. Welcome. You're on Worldwide.
Yeah, you know who needs to be put in jail? The guy at the very end with his nuts hanging out. I can see his nuts.
I guess he's got X-ray vision, or
thank you.
Or
welcome. You're on Worldwide.
He drinks sodas without.
Yes, sir.
I just want to appreciate your passion about this issue. You asked earlier at the top of the show if the rest of the world understands that the United States has been reduced to a third world country. It's worse than that. The United States has been reduced to a wholly owned subsidiary of corporate America. The Pentagon has been pimped off to these folks, and you have to ask yourself, the people that are putting good folks like you in jail for these ridiculous crimes, they have been brainwashed. The military complex, the Marines, the Navy Shore Patrol, the Army military police, they're all part of the same cabal. And you have to ask yourself, how do these people get so brainwashed as to willingly violate every constitutional measure we got in our country? It's just ridiculous. I can't understand for the life of me, and I'm 50 years old. This is just crazy.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It has gone crazy, particularly since 9/11. It's not that everybody has gone crazy. It is a small segment of society that saw 9/11 as their opportunity to just increase the craziness. And that's all it takes is a very dedicated, but small amount, but very dedicated set of people to just make life miserable for everybody else. And of course, they try to take control of the governmental apparatus. It's very important that everybody remember that we are mostly free. If we start falling into the trap of thinking, oh my God, it's all over, well, what you're doing basically is defeating yourself. Most of the people, most of the time, on most issues, do get it right. They're pretty good libertarians.
Well,
but it's the exceptions that are the problem, and that could go either way. That depends on whether we have the ability to encourage people in a good direction or just succumb to defeatism.
Well, as noble as your objectives are, I just want to know from your panel, how do we get through the rank and file of good, upstanding peace officers to help them understand that they are in violation of what our country was founded on? It's crazy. I'll let you go on that note.
Studying your local laws and being able to catch them on minor technicalities.
You need to listen to my show.
I wanted to mention what's your guys' thoughts on drug prohibition? Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you. You need to listen to my show because that's what Randy and my show is about.
To the caller's question about...
most of the people associated with this show will tell you that drug prohibition is very corrupting. Is immoral and corrupt.
I believe what Thomas Jefferson argued, that if you let the government decide which food you eat and which drugs you take, your soul is no better off than those under tyranny.
There you go. There you go.
So for applause. So for what the caller was saying about trying to educate the police are not ignorant. They may act stupid. They're not ignorant. They are informed. They get informed about the law. Some very well, some not. It is the direction in which things have gone. When you have a police department where the law is, where the aim is to protect the life and property of people, then you've got a chance for an honest police. But when the job of the police becomes law enforcement instead of protection of the public, look out.
Meaning wars on drugs and stuff like that.
Means anything they want to do.
And I also want to comment on this, that the police may know laws that they're supposed to enforce, but they don't know the law that they're supposed to follow. None of them read the Criminal Procedure Code. The judges don't read the Criminal Procedure Code. Neither do the prosecutors. They don't know how they're supposed to do their job because they haven't read the law that tells them what they are supposed to do. Okay, and that's where me and Randy come in. We file criminal complaints against them for breaking the law, okay, and how they perform their duties and job functions as peace officers.
Yeah, it's moving from protect and serve to harass and abduct.
Yeah, and money, a lot of it's money. There's ways to make money.
Corporations can pay the police more than an individual citizen.
We call it revenue generation. That's what we
pay lawyer a lot of it.
Yeah, lawyers are in on it. Yeah, welcome. You're all worldwide.
How's it going, guys? I have a different view. Everyone calling.
Go ahead.
I think that you guys next to you are kind of crazy for that drugs, the prohibition of drugs, is ridiculous. Because I mean, imagine how much stress that would cause every angle.
Caller, your voice.
So yeah, you're breaking up.
Can you
I'm sorry.
There you go.
I just have a problem with what the two viewers, the members that are next to you are saying. I mean, the prohibition of drugs would be like that's ridiculous. We have drugs, alcohol.
The problems.
Germany tried this.
The problems with drugs are created by the problems are associated with the prohibition, not the drugs. Drugs don't create. I want to put you on hold, sir. Drugs do not create drug cartels. Drug cartels, for example, and people selling dope out in the streets is an artifact of drug prohibition.
And the government's not going to make you a better person. The government's not going to make you responsible for what you put in your body. We need to have education, and we need to practice good habits and good hygiene, and we need to control what we put in our body. Okay? It's like, I bet you need to lose some weight. I think the government should put you on a diet. Okay?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not talking about regulation like that. I'm not talking about that kind of regulation. But I am saying, but the regulation you have now on drugs is good. I mean, I would disagree with the laws on marijuana and things like that. But as far as other drugs that are more
Sir, you can't, like...
And things like that, that regulation right then.
Sir, it's not a matter of the drugs. It's a matter of what the prohibition is causing.
Individuals should be responsible.
But
it's the prohibition that's causing all the violence, all the corruption of the police. It has nothing to do with, marijuana.
So you're telling me that
population in prisons,
would end all cartels?
It's all in on.
We can't hear. Deregulation of drugs would end all drug cartels? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Yes. No, I mean, I seriously doubt that. I mean,
What's the purpose of a drug cartel if you don't have a drug prohibition?
They wouldn't have formed the cartel if there was
Right,
no
because
prohibition.
if the drugs were available legally, let's say at Walgreens or Walmart, they would be cheaper, they would be more pure, and people and if there was the drug cartel, the drug cartels would be out of business.
And younger kids, they like to get a rush with things that are legal.
I think that is completely ridiculous. I mean, to propose that every drug should be legal. I mean,
they end the prohibition, sir. Just like they ended alcohol prohibition. Welcome, you're on Worldwide.
You know, this fellow would have been horrified by life in America during the first century or so, because they didn't have drug prohibition. Kids could buy all of these various, but they didn't. You know.
Go ahead, sir.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Hi, sir. Welcome.
Hey, on that drug prohibition, I saw a really good YouTube video, and the search word for it is Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, and it's really interesting. Have you guys seen
Leap.org? Leap.org.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yep, that's current law enforcement, people in law enforcement advocating the repeal of drug prohibition.
Yeah.
And also, if you listen to WTPRN at the end of this show, Celly Castillo is on, and he is a talk show host. He's an ex-DEA agent who is against drug prohibition, and he puts on a really good show.
Okay.
WTPRN.com.
Okay, I got a question.
Go ahead, sir.
Recently, a high-profile athlete was indicted for dogfighting.
Yeah.
In a libertarian society, would dogfighting and cockfighting be legal?
Probably. It's not utopia. It's just better than what we have now.
Okay.
It would not be driven underground.
Okay, well, I mean, your pets are your property, but they're still living things. Do you have the right to abuse them?
People seconds to go.
Yeah, but it's not.
He brings up a question that we don't have time to respond to. Maybe we'll respond properly next week. But it's a matter of is the pet also a person or not? And then that gets into the question of, how much?
Okay, folks.
How much consideration is?
See you next week. Google Jeff Davis Show. See you next week. Bye.
on TV. Danger Films on TV. Danger Films on TV. Danger Films on TV. Danger Films on television. Danger Films on TV.